We are living through, one might say, very strange times. But it's a matter of perspective. Each time period could have easily been seen as strange times by the peoples who have lived, who were at the crosshairs, at the arrowhead of those specific time periods, events. So there's a lot of fear now, which we see in people, and understandably so, in the world today. People are openly talking about making suggestions, rather directly, I wouldn't even say suggestions, hinting at the very possibility of World War III. It's, in many ways, it's quite a disheartening, quite a terrible situation for the planet, for the people, for, it's a no-sum game. Many people have said, intellectually savvy people. So there were no such wars at the time of the Buddha. There wasn't such inequity as there is now. There wasn't such hypocrisy as there is now. World leaders, leaders of countries, especially the big countries, people had more sensibility. People had more a sense of decorum, protocol. They would stay away from exposing themselves as hypocrites. They wouldn't be selling their loyalty. Their word basically would have meaning. Today, actually, many places that's not the case, and many word leaders shamelessly say things, do things, which cause a person to feel hopeless. Okay, in those days there weren't those, situations at the time of the Buddha. Kings would rule, and they would be toppled if they didn't rule well. Usually they would be attacked by other rulers. But the strength of a kingdom, strength of a country, a region, a province, a principality, would not come necessarily just from the arms that they had, the weapons they had, or the wealth they had, but the wealth of the people in the form of the faith they had in their leaders. How genuine was my leader, let's say, the person would say, is my leader, and they would approach from there. So loyalty went a long way. Today we don't have that, and that comes from a lack in principles, lack in morals, lack in values. What I've been saying a lot, especially recently, lack in virtue. But what I do want to stress here is the fact that at the time of the Buddha, monks, not just then, but even afterwards, to create a sense of urgency, the Buddha would encourage people to go and put themselves in, not necessarily in harm's way, but in situations that would otherwise shock the person. That's why they would avoid it. But as a bhikkhu, as a monk, as a monastic, as a meditator, to really create that sense of urgency, the person would be sent out or encouraged to go and to live in the open air, in the middle of a field, without even a tree to support, to cover one's head. During the daytime and at nighttime, during the winter, the person would stay outside, out in the open. Another one would be somebody who, another situation that is, would be somebody who would go into a cave, and those caves would have snakes, scorpions, venomous and poisonous spiders, centipedes, millipedes, which would keep you on edge, to say the least. Sometimes you had big tigers come, which the place would be a place for wolves, or where, like Bengal tigers, for example, they're known as, number one human killers in India, places like that. Well, not recently only, but all throughout history. So the person then would place oneself in such really life-threatening situations. So why am I saying this? Why am I bringing this up? Now we are living in such a life-threatening situation globally. Not by any way am I trying to minimize its gravity, the gravity of the situation, that is. When people get up and flaunt, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to, do this to you, I'm going to destroy you, I'm going this way or that way, that is not the talk of a normal human being. Definitely not the kind of speech you would want from a world leader, your leader, the country's head, because that person is representing the whole country. In this case, unfortunately, what that means is the person is owning your health, your status, your physical safety, as well as endangering other people's. So what do you do? We might not have tigers today. We might not have to go and sit at the cliff, a precipice on a cliff, to really push our practice to a point where we diligently practice to create that sense of urgency where transformation really does happen. But we have something really close to it. So the fear that a person would have had while sitting in the cave, anticipating in that darkness of the night that a tiger, a heavy, big tiger, a man-eating tiger, would come in any moment, hungry tiger, or a snake might slither its way and come crawling right next to your skin, or stand up and open up its hood and terrorize you. And there's nobody around. Sometimes you didn't even have a light source. So you're completely defenseless. What does that generate? What does that bring up? Well, obviously fear, terror, stress to the maximum level. Sometimes people would faint. Sometimes, many times, people would run away. Goose flesh, goosebumps all over. They're completely disoriented, which is very, in a sense, common. That is the common theme you can use. And that's what I'm trying to encourage us to look at these events happening in the world today as a way to not miss the opportunity. Okay, what do you do? What did they do? What these people really did was they practiced the kamatanas, the meditative practices. They would be given a tool, a method, a technique, and that would be the thing they would grab onto for dear life in those moments when they were in terror. They were in situations where There was no way out except for them to push through those periods, to push those hours, to push through those days. Not to have the seasons change, for example, so that the cobra or the snake might go into hibernation, or the tiger would leave town, go to another cave, and then you would be scot-free. No, that's not what they were pushing through, in a sense. They were preparing themselves to really acclimate and really bulldoze their way through their fears, to overcome them. The kammatthana, or the technique, could have been the breath, could have been the names, or the principles, the values of the triple gem, such as Buddho, or Dhammo, or Sangho, or looking at the 32 parts of the body, breaking it down piece by piece: head hair, body hair, nails, skin, sinews, ligaments, blood, urine, bones, etc., etc. Or looking at the three characteristics of existence, nature, happening in front of them, within them, that are impermanence, the non-stability of things, of phenomena, of constant change taking place, and because of that, the suffering that ensues because of impermanence, and the non-substantiality. There not being a person, a core, realizing the corelessness of oneself. These are all powerful kammatthanas. These are all tools. I mentioned the breath, watching the breath come in and out, observing just the point of contact with the body, whether it's the belly, the tummy moving against the robes, pushing on the inhale, or as it's being exhaled, the air out as the belly collapses, the diaphragm pulls up, or the nostrils, the area above the upper lip, as it gets warm with every inhale and cool with every exhale, that area right under your nose. That's a powerful kammatthana. That's what we call anapanasati. Of course, we have the satipatthana with the 4 postures, with the observation of the body in 4 different positions, and the junctions in between: sitting, standing, walking, lying down. But in many cases, one that is really powerful is, not that the others aren't, of course, but many people can really attest to its ability to help a person to push through such difficult circumstances and moments of terrifying uncertainty that many people are complaining about and worried about in the world today, given this very irresponsible behaviors of individuals that are in very powerful positions, where civilization is on the brink of destruction. In many places, people are speaking, intelligent people are stating that, and the evidence is indicating to that fact. So what do? Instead of panicking, we need to look at a tool that is powerful, and one that I highly would recommend here, that anyone can apply at any point, especially during the day, especially during those times, or at night, when you feel overwhelmed by fears, by uncertainties. The last thing you want is to allow that worrisome, fearful thought to come and fester and grow. That's a no-no, that's unacceptable. Instead, use Buddho. You can start by saying it a few times, audibly, just for yourself, and then turn it subvocal. You don't have to use your tongue, your mouth. Just bring it inside your skull, inside your brain. Have it echo within you, within your throat, within your lungs, in your body, and then let it reverberate and find its place in your heart. You don't have to mentally follow it. I'm just pointing these things out because sometimes for many people, such visualization techniques really allows them to anchor themselves because of lack in meditation. So they need to have some groundedness, at least in the beginning. Otherwise, if you find that you're fine with the repetition of Buddho until it becomes unified in your mind, you're able to maintain it, where it itself repeats itself. It becomes like the heartbeat, but without the gaps. It becomes like the oxygen, the air you're breathing. Everywhere, within and without, there's Buddho. Resting in it. We rarely ask, where is my faith? But we have to ask, where is my faith? We have to inquire from ourselves, of ourselves, as to what is causing me to feel all rattled up. And in response to that, what can I do to actually anchor myself in safety? So where is your faith? Unfortunately, many of us have our faith placed in the wrong things, usually outside of ourselves. It could be in the insurance policy you have, in the house you've built, in the business you own, in the position you have in society, in the wealth you have, in the partnerships you have in your life, in your wife, in your husband, in your children, in the political system, in the country, in your race, in your whatever it is. All these are the wrong things to have faith in, because all these are very fickle. They're very fickle. They're transitory. They will end for sure, sooner or later. You cannot put your trust in them indefinitely. So then you have to ask the question again, where is my faith? Where does my faith lie? Where is it found? What can I anchor myself upon? For that, the closest thing to you at the present should be your faith in your morality, in your virtue, in how well you live your life, in keeping yourself pure, in keeping yourself protected from doing stupid things, from doing harmful things, whether to yourself or to others. So your faith is placed where? This goes hand in hand with your meditation practice. Because eventually, sooner or later, if you're practicing correctly, with dedication, with diligence, with proper energy, with proper focus, with proper trust, that will manifest. Your faith will grow. Hence, Buddho will become your source of faith. And you will be anchored. And you will not even have any fears anymore. Otherwise, how do you think those bhikkhus were sitting in that cave when the tigers did come? And no bhikkhu was ever mauled. No bhikkhu, no monastic was ever bitten while they sat there with their meditation object intact, while being anchored. In their faith, as they practiced. So, we might not be living next to caves or living on actual edges of cliffs, precipices, or surrounded by tigers, cobras, venomous snakes. But nevertheless, we are living in dangerous circumstances, going through these difficult times where humanity has hit a new low because of the lies and the deceptions that are going on such a massive, massive scale, where there is disregard for morality, virtue, and especially truth. People are lying through their teeth, every avenue, and they're not saying what is happening. So this is a perfect environment, perfect in the sense that for a person to turn around and a specialist, and let's say a psychologist, to look at and say, wow, this is a perfect example of cognitive dissonance, where people are being exposed to psychosis. Because reality is one thing, the truth of what is being done, of what people are doing is one thing, and what is immediately being said to the people who are witnessing this is totally the opposite. So the observer, the people, the regular person is now caught between two realities. One that is being said to them, told to them, and the other is what they are observing. So the value system becomes very, very shaken up, to say the least. So come back to the practice. Use Buddho. Gain that faith. And this phase will also pass, and you will come out a vanquisher of not only your fears, but the circumstances around you. I hope this helps.